Hello everyone, welcome to Dark Fae Tarot. You are joining me on the end of a beautiful day in Brussels. Welcome to new subscribers and welcome back to those who already know me. So yes, I am going to go into the Oracle deck that I use for the month of May because it is a beautiful deck. I already had some people saying, oh my God, I think I'm going to get it basically. And I thought, yeah, let me just post a review because it might be helpful. So yeah, I pulled a card from this deck every day, but before I go into it, let's just start off with the deck. Let me show you it. And that is Soulflower Plant Spirit Oracle by Lisa Estabrook. This is a 44 card deck, as it says. It is mass market, published by Findhorn Publishing. It was an indie deck, and I think it was 2021 when it became a mass market deck. I paid about 15 euros for it, so I personally think it's more on the reasonable side of tarot and oracle decks. Of course, right now, even the mass market ones have become very, very expensive. So I think 15 euros is more towards the lower end of the scale. And as soon as I kind of saw it at an affordable price point, I jumped on it. So yeah, I really wanted also, by the way, just to say this, I knew I wanted to work with this deck. It has the most luscious spring summer vibes. So that just sold me straight away. So these are the backs of the cards. Before I go into the cards themselves, I just want to say these are the backs and they vary. We have this kind of like light green color. Then we have this kind of like green turquoisey color, very bluey color, and then another kind of like a very lime colored color. So yeah, and I think that they're to represent different kind of like plants. I didn't go into that too much because I was just pulling a card a day, but I do think that it's worth noting that there are categories for this deck. The thing that I found really interesting when I was looking at the guidebook is that Lisa Estabrook explains why she created this deck, what brought her to this creative process. But then she goes on to talk about, the relationship between the soul and our soil, soul and soil. I wonder if Candy is watching this from Candy, Soul and Soil. But yes, that, and then also starting with the soil anytime, because what she has done, what the author and the creator has done is linked the plants to moon phases, which I thought was very, very interesting. So for example, we have supporting growth, which is associated with springtime, waxing moon. We have here blooming, which is associated with summer, full moon. I think I missed one accidentally. Let me go back. Yes, here it is. Oh no, we've got spring. So we know we have early spring, then spring, summer, and then we have, if I get it right, autumn, waxing moon. And then after that, we have winter, dark moon. So there has been this kind of like journeying with the moon phases, and she's also given a lot of guidance on cultivating, this daily practice of pulling an oracle card. If you're someone that's new to oracle cards and you want something that has this kind of guidance, I would definitely say this is worth checking out. What I also really liked, and she even gives like prompts and what you can ask yourself when pulling a card, which I think is helpful, which is like, what message will help me learn and grow and work through this experience in love and truth for the highest good of all, or simply what message do I need to hear today? And then she's given kind of like, information on paying attention to our thoughts and feelings, having the card on our altar, that kind of thing. So I thought that was quite great, good. And the other thing I really liked was, this is such a lovely positive deck, I just have to say this. It's a very soul-soothing deck, is that we have affirmations here. So yeah, I usually show the guidebook at the end, but I wanted to show it at the beginning because I think it helps explain the deck a lot better. And then what we have is we have the standard, for each card a meaning, and it's quite substantive. So you get about a page and a half per card with an affirmation. And of course, we're going to do a sample reading later. But this just goes to show you how much work was put in, and how if you are somebody that wants to work between the linking the flowers and your plants, and you're someone that has a garden that you're tending to, and relate that to the moon phases and seasons, this beautiful table has also been created. So I thought this was a beautiful deck to begin with. I've got a feeling that the back of the cards are relating to this, but we don't see it here. So I think there could be more in terms of information of how they relate. I personally just pulled a card a day, just to be very honest. So that's why that's how I used it. And I'm not going to show too much in this video, but the deck that I did use it with in May is Tarot of the Golden Wheel. And I just, because I wanted to use the Oracle deck so much, it was almost like the Tarot deck this time was secondary. And I found the synchronicity between them just beautiful. So I'll show you that in a moment. But let's first of all look at the deck itself and the paintings and the cards, because I think that that is something that you just want to note for yourself, you know, straight away, how beautiful they are. So let me just flip this around so we've got it the right way around. Let's start off here. So what we have here is the name of the flower, a keyword, and text. Now the text is expanded, of course, in the guidebook, and then we have the affirmation. But what I loved about it was that during the day, when I had this up in my kind of like, it's a shrine area I have, I could still get quite a gist of the message just from this. So I personally liked it. I know some people want less text, but I love it. And I found that the images were just, they pop so beautifully. I love large oracle cards. I have to say that I find them really soothing to have outside on my altar space. I find them, or if they're not soothing, if it's a different kind of a shadow energy, I just find it such a, like an amazing focal point in the room. But as you can see here, the actual paintings that were done are just divine. And, you know, for each one, we have this text, which is very, very helpful. Now, what I also really liked about this deck was that the color palettes itself, you know, the colors that were chosen, like these vibrant oranges, yellows, pinks. Yeah, the green in this deck is wonderful. And I have to say one thing is that right now in Brussels, because of all the rain we had in spring, the leaves are just so green. They're just, the vibrancy of that green is amazing. So it kind of like really worked well with this deck. And yeah, and I think it's a very empowering deck. That's the best way I'm going to put it. You know, look at White Pine, it says wisdom, or Lady Slipper is, you know, connection. It was a very empowering and soothing deck. So let's take a card and pull one, and then we can look at the guidebook. So I've just opened it randomly, and this is Nettle. I love Nettle. I love Nettle tea as well. What I find is that also if you pull a card and you happen to have the tea that you can ingest, I think that's great. So yeah, I pulled Nettle there. So let's work with this one. So here I am. I'm going to read from the guidebook. Hopefully it's not too long. If I find it's going on for too long, I will try and cut it short. So it says here, oh, so yeah, so here we have just the beginning of what's already written on the card. It says, wake up. Nettle helps you transform foggy thinking so that you can respond to prickly or heated situations by speaking up for yourself in alignment with your own truth, and without harboring resentment or attachments that can leave you feeling tired, congested, and irritated. And then it says here, nettle is a powerful plant and a super nourishing spring tonic herb, rich in vitamins and minerals that strengthens our blood, which in turn feeds every cell in our bodies. That is, if we dare to risk a prickly, painful sting and get close enough to harvest her. She is a plant steeped in dualities, uncomfortable yet restorative, delicate yet tenacious, and often avoided or overlooked, yet so enormously valuable to enrich our bodies and help wake us up when we are lost in a fog of negative thinking or just no thinking at all. Many of us go through our day-to-day lives somewhat on autopilot, carrying out our usual morning routines, driving the same way to work, eating the same foods, and seeing the same people day in and day out. If we are not so happy in our lives, routine gives us structure to fall back on, so they don't have to think about or process the underlying issues that are causing our pain and discomfort. Instead, we just accept our lot and go on with it. Changing our lives, changing our habits, changing our thoughts is not easy. And nettle is not a gentle teacher, but sometimes it takes a good slap to wake us up out of a deep slumber. The universe will send us irritating situations, minor issues, or maybe major disasters, distracting shiny objects that lead us in the wrong direction, and difficult or frustrating exchanges. This is not to make our lives miserable, but instead is a generous gift to show us perhaps the parts of our life that have real value, that give us ease, perspective, and joy. The parts are in alignment with our own truth. Sometimes you have to experience the bad in order to recognize the good. And then it says, nettle helps us to show the area of our lives which we are in autopilot, where we may have lost our way. Just like the experience of a disorienting head cold, it can be really hard to figure out where we are and where we are going. Mostly we are just doing our best to get comfortable until it passes. Transformation then is almost always changing and uncomfortable work, but nourishing. Nettle helps us clearly see the beliefs that are fueling our actions so that we can really do something about changing them. What it boils down to is courage, trust, and again and again. What stories are you transforming? And the affirmation here is, I transform my thoughts, my actions, and my perspective to align with my true self. So that was a long reading, but I had to give you that because I thought the guidebook is just so good. There is so much there that you can journal on. There is so much there that you can just take away and mull over. Perhaps, you know, if you don't have much time to write in your journal, you know, you can just you can just kind of like even, sorry, let's find these again. You can just even, if you don't have that much time, you can just even just take this part at the bottom and that's it. That's enough for your journaling. But I just found it to be amazing, an amazing, I was about to say slipper, it's a Speedwell, and that's Insight. But yeah, I just found this such a soothing deck. I love hydrangea. I love this flower. So yeah, so I think that if you have a watercolor deck, and let me show you with that, if you have a watercolor deck and you really want to use this deck with it, this is kind of like a good one for you to perhaps try out. So let me show you with the Tarot of the Golden Wheel. This is a, let me show you the box again. This is also a mass market deck by US Games. I think it's retailing around the €20 mark right now. And the creator is Mila Losenko. I've already done a review on this deck, but I think for this month I might do a refresher review because it's the second time I'm using it the whole month. So it's a deck that I've returned to. It's not a brand new one. And I love this deck because I love the colors in it. So let me just show you some examples of pairing them together, and then you might get some idea of using this with another watercolor deck. See, there we go. So you can just see straight off the bat how, oh wow, look at that. 3 of Wands and transformation. And what do we have here? We have the Chariot and we have here abundance. And yeah, I mean, I just really loved how they worked so well together. This is 2 of Wands and this is barrage optimism. You know, there's just so much there that you could work from. Oh, here we have 5 of Cups and here we have lavender and restoration. And look how beautiful they go well together. So yeah, you can really just work so well. This is 9 of Wands and this is Mugwort with integration. And then finally we have strength, and here we have rebirth. I mean, yeah, there's a synchronicity in these two that I just loved using them. This is death and this is nurturance. I mean, yeah. And I had so many comments on Instagram about how beautiful they look together. So this is Ace of Wheels, Ace of Pentacles, and this is empowerment. So yeah, that just gives you a quick summary of using the Soulflower Oracle with a watercolor deck. I know there's the Modern Hues Tarot, and there's other beautiful RWS or other system, you know, also Marseille decks with watercolors, which I think that this deck will go beautifully with. I also love the range of flowers. Now this is, I have to point out, I think this is more of a Northern Hemisphere deck because of the flowers. I don't know how much we would find these flowers, let's say, in the Southern Hemisphere. So that's something I am going to raise, you know, that it does depend on where one lives. But I think for Europe, this worked very, very well. And I think it will, of course, for the US as well, North America, I'm going to say as well. So yeah, I just really loved working with these decks because these flowers, sorry, are abundant and present in our flora here in northern Europe as well. So this is yarrow, this is boundaries, and it's funny because I pulled this card. I think it's one of the first cards I pulled. The same time I messaged another tarot tuber regarding an issue I was struggling with, and she told me to get hold of, and she'd said it in Dutch. I can't remember the name of the flower in Dutch. But she recommended I get hold of it, and it was yarrow. So it was just amazing how they just all speak to each other so well. So hopefully that gives you again an idea. So thank you for joining me. It is a short review today. I hope it helped. Do check out the Soulflower Plant Spirit Oracle, if I can say it right, by Lisa Estabrook. I think it's something worth having in your shelf. If you do love these kind of watercolors, if you do love these kind of like images, I think it's something that one could have long term in their shelf. It's a deck that you can keep for a very long time. So again, yeah, thank you for joining me, and I will see you all soon next week. Take care now. Bye.